Well, hello everyone, I'm Elio, and today we're gonna be taking a look at the new Fable gameplay that just dropped. Although, the word drop is an understatement, it was already 2 weeks ago, so I'm just here looking like Internet Explorer, giving you the information very late, or who knows, maybe that joke is already outdated, but the point is, in one hand, I'm very optimistic, because I'm a fan of the Fable franchise and hype for another entry, but then there are also other factors that pretty much just scream to me that this game is not gonna be great, or at least not a great addition to the Fable franchise. All that is to say that I'm skeptically optimistic about this game. But hey, with all that yapping out of the way, let's focus on the gameplay, and to be honest, calling a gameplay is very generous, because it's only like 1 minute, but hey, at least it's way better than all the previous cinematic trailers that they were giving us before of character walking towards something. Now they show the combat, they are showing actual gameplay, and that's actually the focus of this gameplay, showing the combat, and so far it looks very similar to The Witcher, which honestly is not bad. It looks very good. I like the animations. If we are very critical about it, you can see the dodge, the back step, the side step, or whatever it's called. It kind of looks like wonky, kind of looks a little bit janky, but honestly that could be chalked up to be just the alpha gameplay. And it's kind of understandable why the combat looked very similar to The Witcher. After all, I think I heard that some people from The Witcher 3 were actually working on the Fable game, so hey, that makes sense. Another thing that they showed was the character using another weapon, basically a hammer, which it was a weapon that I used a lot in Fable 1, where at least it's implied that you're gonna be using different types of weapons besides just a sword, which is, I'm saying imply because it's not like Fable 3 had the biggest selection of weapons, which we all know that that's basically the black sheep of the franchise. They also show a little bit of the spells, the spell effects, the explosion and the effects on how the spells is going to look, which hopefully there is an ample selections of spells that you can choose like in Fable 1. Another thing they showed was that you can have a horse, and you can ride the horse as well, which is, hey, pretty nice. First Fable game in the franchise where you can have a mount, which made me think, how big will the world going to be? Is this going to be like open zones, like the old Fable games, or will it be like open world, like, say Red Dead, where you can go from point A to point B, and there are no loading screens in the middle? I don't know, they're being very cryptic with that detail, but we'll see. I personally wouldn't mind either, to be honest. I feel like open world will be cooler, obviously, but if it's open zones, I'm not gonna hold it against the game. After all the previous Fable games were basically like that. But it's 2025, people's expectations changes, and probably the old Fable games were open zones like that because that's how they were able to make open worlds back in the day, because they were held back by the technology of their time. And then, the most obvious thing that you can see in the trailer is that the game just looks beautiful. Graphics are chef kiss. It's kind of sad that they have gradually went away from the original art style of the game, with each new franchise. But hey, it's a new company doing the game, so I'll give them a pass. It looks nice. Now all of that is great. I was actually asking for them to show the combat in one of my previous videos, which, hey, ask and you shall receive. I guess I got what I was asking for. But yeah, I also asked for a bunch of other stuff, like scenes that make Fable, which they still haven't shown. All they showed was basically your character kicking a chicken, which, props to them. You can do that in Fable, and it's one of the most iconic things, but there is still no DNA. The game doesn't feel like Fable. Okay, but now that we talk about the gameplay, now let's speculate a little bit. Right off the bat, there's a scene in the trailer that basically shows like a poster in front of a house, like a small sign in front of the house. For those that don't know, those signs basically look very similar to the signs in Fable 2 and in Fable 1, where you can just approach the house to buy the property, which is kind of like a confirmation that the property management part might be in the game, but it is not said. This is just me speculating. Then there's also a part on the trailer where we can see the protagonist fighting an enemy that is taller than her. Maybe that's kind of confirming body morphing in the game. Like in Fable, if you level up strength, your character become buff. If you level up guild, then you became taller, and if you level up will, had like these cool blue tattoos around your body. But hey, they only show like this character that looks big. I mean, it's very similar to the old games where there were characters that were bigger than your character, but eventually, as you level up some of their stars, those characters start looking similar to your character because now you were strong and buff and tall. So who knows? Maybe this is implying body morphing, but we still don't know. Now the thing that is not a speculation or or rumor is that the fact that it's going to be a male character. So far all we've been saying is the female character, which I mean I understand why people wouldn't want to play as her. Very understandable, don't worry, I got it. Although I gotta say, she actually looks better in this new gameplay, which I guess kind of implies that, the attractiveness stat might be improved in the game. For those that don't know, in all Fable games, there is an attractiveness stat, which can go up depending on the clothes and the hairstyle that you wear. But who knows, maybe they just made it better for this game. Maybe your character looks ugly at the beginning, but the more stuff you do or the more you train, probably your character gets more handsome or prettier, depending. I mean, that wouldn't be bad, to be honest. Similar to the sex appeal on San Andreas. Now the thing that a lot of people are expecting, is character creation. Now that will be a step in the right direction, in my opinion, because honestly, like I said, it's 2025, people's expectations have changed. So I feel like a natural evolution between, choosing your hero rather than just choosing a boy or a girl will be to just create your own character. I feel like that makes sense. But with all that said, my main problem with this gameplay and the new Fable in general is that it still doesn't feel like Fable. So far there are other aspects from Fable that they still haven't shown. For example, the property management part, which I was speculating it might be there because I saw that little poster there, but they still haven't said anything about it. Then there's also body morphing, showing the character get stronger as they level up the strength, get taller, or getting those cool blue tattoos from magic. Another thing, can I get married? Are the NPCs very interactable? Like, will they cheer for you if you're good? Will they fear you if you're evil? Continuing with that, is morality still a thing? Can you choose to be good or evil? Do you grow horns if you're evil? Do you get a halo on your head if you're good? Is purity and corruption still a thing? Will your choices impact the war, like in all Fable games? I mean, another thing with the NPCs, do NPCs say your title? Like in all games they call you Sparrow, Chicken Chaser, or can you change your title? That's another thing. Can you boast when you choose to do a quest like in Fable 1? Is there going to be a Heroes Guild? Going back to the morphing part, will your character age like in Fable 1 when you level up? Or will it be like in Fable 2 where, it's scripted when you can age? What about the emotes, the expressions that the player character can use? Will the NPC react to those? And there is also the tone and humor of the game, which is hard to nail. And I almost forgot, there also have to be an arena, as well as, please bring back co-op, but well done, similar to Outwards perhaps. So even though the game looks nice, it still doesn't feel like a Fable game, because they still haven't shown us all of these things. And I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but let me know down there in the comments. Now another thing was that the game was delayed until 2026, so yeah, the game's not coming in 2025. We don't know the reason why, but we can try to guess. Could be as simple as the game wasn't ready, which it could be very concerning considering this whole, considering how long this game has been in development. For this game not to be ready, that, will be really concerning, and it pretty much would prove the point that, the game doesn't feel like Fable. You're telling me you had all these years to make the game, and the only thing that you got to show for it is that 1 minute of gameplay, which it doesn't feel like Fable. The only thing that felt like Fable there was, you kicking a chicken, and really, that's it? That's the only thing you're gonna show? I feel like they're being very protective with what they show, kind of giving me some Starfield vibes. But it also could be something less concerning, like the fact that GTA 6 is coming on fall of 2025, and I feel like everyone was already kind of predicting that Fable was coming out around that time as well, around from September to December. So a lot of people are predicting that GTA 6 is gonna come out around October and November. So yes, I will perfectly understand why you wouldn't want your game to be close to GTA 6. Like, if I were to release a game, I wouldn't want to release my game close to GTA 6, neither a month after or a month before, because GTA is just taking those 2 months for itself. And then there is December. You can bet a bunch of kids are gonna be asking their parents to buy the GTA 6 for sure. So if that was the case, yes, completely understandable. You do not want to compete with GTA 6, especially, Fable, right? But hey, that is all that we know about the Fable. Hopefully, in the Xbox Direct or whatever other game show, we'll get more information about Fable, because it's a game that I'm looking forward to it. But like I said, I'm skeptically optimistic about the game. So with that said, thank you for watching. If you make it this far, appreciate it. If you want to subscribe, you can subscribe if you want. Leave a comment down there. Anything, please. Anything works, to be honest. So with that said, thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Goodbye.